Hey guys, so the last video that I was working on got cut off, so I'm just going to pick up with question number 3. Okay, so question number 3 is a word problem. So it says, Greg is at the top of a roller coaster ride. The distance, d of t, of the car from the ground as the car descends is determined by the following equation, d of t, where t is the number of seconds it takes the car to travel down to each point. How many seconds will it take Greg to reach the ground? Okay, so we're going to want to see what this graph looks like, all right? And we're going to use the calculator to help us. So if you look at the graph that the question provides, you'll notice that the x-axis goes from 0 to 4. All right, so they're asking us to graph just that interval from 0 to 4. Okay, so we're going to go to our calculator. We're going to go to y equals, and I already typed in our equation, 144 minus 16x squared. Okay, so I hit second graph, and then I'm just going to copy the values from 0 to 4. So I'm going to copy those x values and the corresponding y values onto my paper. Right? So instead of using x and y, they're using t, which stands for time, and d of t, which stands for distance. Okay, so we're going from 0 to 4. So at 0 seconds, the roller coaster was at 144 feet. And then it goes down from there. Okay, now again, d of t represents distance. So it doesn't really make sense for the length of something or the distance to be negative. So we can reject that value. Okay, so when you go to graph these points, be careful, all right, because the y-axis, you'll notice the scale is going up by tens. Okay, so we got 0, 144, 1, 128, 2, 80, and 3, 0. Okay, so you'll see it's part of a parabola. All right, so Greg starts at the top of the roller coaster and then descends downward. Okay, so the question said, how many seconds will it take Greg to reach the ground? Well, we can tell that based on the graph, or we can also tell that based on the table. So he's going to reach the ground after 3 seconds. Okay, all right, let's take a look at problem number 4. Okay, so this one says Tom throws a ball into the air. The ball travels on a parabolic path represented by the following equation, where h is the height in feet and t is the time in seconds. On the accompanying set of axes, graph the equation from t equals 0 to t equals 5, including all integral values from 0 to 5. Okay, so again, t represents time, and h of t represents the height. So we want to go from 0 to 5. Okay, and again, we're going to use our calculator to help us. So we're going to go to y equals, and we're going to type in our equation, which was negative 8x squared plus 40x. Okay, so we hit second graph, and we want to get the values from 0 to 5. Okay, so these are the values we're going to copy right onto our paper. So we got 0, 32, 48, 48, 32, and 0. Okay, so you'll notice here that the y values do repeat, but we don't have a turning point. Okay, and when we graph a parabola, we always want to have a turning point. So since our calculator didn't give us the turning point, we're going to have to calculate it by hand. So hopefully you remember in the last lesson, we went over an equation that can be used to find the axis of symmetry. Okay, so that equation was x equals the opposite of b over 2a. All right, so if I go back to the equation given, negative 8t squared plus 40t, a is negative 8 and b is 40. Okay, so when I fill this in, we get x equals the opposite of b is going to be negative 40 divided by 2 times a, so 2 times negative 8. So x equals negative 40 divided by negative 16, which is positive 2.5. Okay, so we know that the axis of symmetry is x equals 2.5. So to figure out the vertex, we're going to go back to our calculator. We're going to hit second trace, and then I'm going to go to option 1 where it says value. So now you should get x equals on your calculator screen, and if you type in 2.5 and then hit enter, you get a y value of 50. So we know that the vertex of this parabola is 2.5 comma 50. Okay, so now we can add that value to our table. All right, so in between here, we have 2.5 and 50. See if I can get that to come out in a different color. There we go. 2.5 and 50. Okay, so now we can graph this. So we got the point 0, 0, 132, 248, 2.5, so that's going to be in between the boxes, comma 50, 348, 432, and 5 comma 0. Okay, so that's what our parabola looks like. So now we want to answer some questions. What is the value of t at which h of t has its greatest value? Well, the greatest value for h of t is 50, and that occurs when t equals 2.5. What is the maximum height that the bowl reaches? Well, that's going to be represented by the vertex. So the maximum height of the bowl is 50 feet. At what time will the ball hit the ground? Okay, so the ball is thrown up, reaches its maximum height of 50, and then starts to fall back down, and it's going to hit the ground after 5 seconds. Okay, So I hope that this was helpful. I know in this lesson we did review a lot, so it's not a bad idea to maybe watch the videos more than once. All right, you do have a problem that you should practice on your own, and then there will also be a Google form for you guys to fill out.